Welcome to Grit and Grace, the place where grit shapes you, grace carries you, and friends walk beside you through it all. I'm Pam Rader, and along with my co-hosts Erin Payne and Brian Thiessen, we're here to laugh, cry, and tell the truth about what it means to be fully human. Think of us as your old friends. We share real stories, a little cowboy logic, and transformational tools. Because here's the thing, life's gonna kick your ass sometimes, but it'll also invite you to rise. And when you've got grit and grace and a few good friends, you will get through it all. So pull up a chair, grab your coffee, and buckle up.
Okay.
Welcome back to Grit and Grace. It's Pam Rader with my sidekick, Erin Payne.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
So, this beautiful May day, May 20, I can't even believe it. It's like time is
Yeah.
going by so fast. I have been thinking about something a lot recently in my own life that I want to pull apart with you, Erin. And we haven't really got a chance to talk about this much before. So this is going to be pretty raw and real and whatever comes up. But I had something pointed out to me a few months ago by my partner who very lovingly said to me, "Hey, I notice that how much of how you see yourself is still tied to the past and everything you've been through, that you kind of lead with these stories about yourself. Like, what's that about?" And to be honest, I felt super defensive about it. I was like, F you. I have been through that shit and too bad, and whatever. But then I started really thinking about it and I was like, oh my gosh, all of these things, that shaped who I am. Yeah, they still exist, but do I need to lead the next part of my life with those things? And why am I bringing them into the space where they maybe don't need to be? I've written a book, I've spoken on stages about my story, about my son, about the abuse I suffered, marriage, divorce, businesses, rebuilding from scratch, all that stuff. And I've shared it in trainings and coaching. And for a long time, I genuinely believed that I was doing it as a service for others. And I was. That part is real. But something about it just started to bother me after my partner brought that up. And the more I saw it underneath the look what I've overcome was a very quiet, very subtle thread of victimhood. And a way that I was justifying, like, I must have wisdom because I've survived all this, or I must be valuable because I'm still here and I survived all this. It was like a weird way, I think, that I was still unaware, had a blind spot to a lack of self-worth. What I have to say isn't valuable unless you know that I have this street cred or something like that. So what I want to
Okay.
say about this is, this isn't like dramatic victimhood. I would have told you, like, absolutely not. No victim here. But it's a kind of victimhood that masquerades as inspiration. It's kept me tethered to the past while I'm standing in the present. And so today, I I want to talk about this because I don't think I'm the only one in the room where this is happening. I think all of us have a story that we like to tell about ourselves, and it's a way that we drag the past into the present and we continue to make that our future.
You're definitely not the only one who has this. So, as you're talking, my story is the enlightenment loop. So, I've done all this work. I've processed all of these things, all of these beliefs that don't serve me. I've lived a quote unquote spiritual life. I've done so much work. And what I learned recently myself, and I haven't talked to you about this, is that I was caught in an enlightenment, quote unquote, enlightenment loop. And so the very work that I felt was giving me my credit, my street cred, was a way for me to avoid being, I mean, that is victimhood as well, right? It's like me thinking that I have to do this and this is the way I have to show up in the world or else I'm not gonna be good enough to help someone else.
Right. Yeah, and then we wanna prove it, we wanna show it like like, put it on our wear a medal around our neck or put a badge on our chest or something where we're like, "Yeah, like, look, here's why you should believe me, here's why I'm valuable because I've done this, this, and this." So that's, like, achievement-based esteem and
Yes.
attribute-based esteem. But when we have
Mhm.
to go to that, it points to this really specific blind spot of, if I have total self-worth, why do I need to tell anyone anything about me unless it's helpful to them in some way?
Yeah, and that's a amazing question, and if I can just take that one step a little bit, and maybe in a different direction or maybe deeper, but it served you to build something pretty profound in the world. So it's like, when do we set this down? When do we see it and when do we set it down?
Yeah, and that's really the question because it did, telling my story actually did serve me. It helped me heal. It helped me
Mhm.
process. It helped me build something. It helped me help others. And then there came a point, in all honesty, Aaron, like I had an experience the other day. I think I told you about this. Someone wanted to buy my book. And I was just like, ew, I didn't even want to sell it to them. And I had to,
Really? No, you
yeah.
never
And
told
it's
me
not because
that.
I think the book is bad. Like there's lots of helpful wisdom in there and all of that. But I was like,
Yeah.
I'm so fucking sick of telling my story. And I just had this desire to not lead with that, to not lead with that at all. And to just have some space and for people to experience me as the me I am now without the me who's overcome all of this stuff in the past. So I want to share something about I have this friend. Years ago I met him. He's a freelance videographer and we kind of met inadvertently and I hired him to make a yoga DVD way back in the day when DVDs were still a thing and I wanted it professionally produced and it still exists. It's pretty good. Power Yoga with Pam Rader.
DVD.
Yeah. And anyways, his name was Chad, and he's like an amazing guy. And we became really good friends. Became friends with his fiance, and then his brother and his wife and his mom, and they became kind of part of our family. And it was just a really amazing friendship. Had tons of dinner parties together, all of these things. Now, Chad had moved to Canada from he was a dual citizen, but moved most recently from Colorado. I had known him for 3 or 4 years, and we're sitting around having a big dinner with everybody together and his brother drops a comment about, well, when Chad was paralyzed, that wouldn't have been possible. And I was like, what? And then the story came out that when Chad was playing high level hockey in Colorado, he got boarded and became a quadriplegic. They had put him in the hospital, like the equivalent in Canada and in Vancouver, it's called GF Strong, but like the rehabilitation hospital. And the doctors basically told him, you need to accept the fact that you're never going to walk again. It's really important that you accept this fact. If you don't, you're just harming your healing. And he was like, "No, I'm not accepting that." And in fact, they had people come in the night and they were like trying to play these tapes that would help him subliminally accept the fact that he would be a quadriplegic. And he called his brother in Florida to come and he's like, "Keep these people out of my fucking room.
Yeah.
I don't want any information like this coming in." And so his brother Ryan would sit with him and Chad told the story of how he's like, "Well, I just looked at my big toe until one day I wiggled it. And then I knew that they were wrong and I was gonna walk again." And by the time I met Chad, not only does he have a thriving business and he's bought a house and he's got a lovely fiance, he's running 5K a day. Now, after the fact, I noticed that he had a little bit of his hands were a little bit different. Like when you're quadriplegic, sometimes you lose some of so he was an incomplete quad, meaning it wasn't a complete breakage through, which is why he was able to heal some. But the whole point of this, that's an amazing story. The whole point is I knew him for 4 years. He did not lead with that story. He was
4
an
years.
incredible human being. I loved everything about him. We had the greatest friendship, and I didn't know that, but he didn't need to drag it into the space to tell me how amazing he was. And I thought so much more of him for that because he was free. He didn't need that story to define him.
Hmm,
He was just him.
hmm.
And so Muji, who's one of the teachers that I like to follow, do you know Muji, Aaron?
I
Is
do.
that what?
I've
Yeah.
seen a few of his videos and heard a little bit about him.
If you haven't followed him or seen him on YouTube, if you're interested in the stuff that Erin and I talk about, go look up Mooji, Mooji. He's amazing. Anyways, he's a Jamaican-born spiritual teacher, and he always has this invitation that he offers again and again, and it's so simple it sounds like too simple. And I think I'm just starting to get it. He says, "Just for 1 minute, stop telling your story and see what remains." Not forever and not as a denial of anything that happened, but just for a minute to stop and see what's there when your story's not filling the space. Like, I got to experience Chad without the story, and he was an incredible, amazing human being. And then when that story came out, it was like even deeper, but I wasn't looking at him just of the lens of look what he's overcome. I already had an experience of who he is as a human being. So when we lead with our story, do we really rob people of seeing the human being that's here right now?
I I love the freedom in that, like you said. It's like he can choose to create his life however he wants moving forward. And you're so much about identity and, speaking who we are and doing the work and it's like if that story tethers us, it doesn't serve us anymore. And I'm just like the freedom to move forward. That's amazing. But I do have one question or, just maybe like a little bit of a pushback. Like you are a public persona. That's not really the right word, but you have a public piece to your business and who you are. And when you share your story, you connect with others and they see themselves in you. Like, isn't that how we show, we're human?
Yeah. And I think here's the thing. I think it's where does it come from? I would have said that yes, I'm entirely just it's helping people and connecting with people and that is true. But there can be a separation between two things and I didn't see it. I was commingling these two things. My intention and my conscious desire was to help people. But my unconscious, the subconscious, I'm not enough. The subconscious, I want people to think I'm valuable. The subconscious, I'm only worthy if if I'm doing something of service. Those kinds of things was playing underneath it as well. And I think where the freedom comes is when you don't need anyone to know your story. You don't need to lead with it. You're not afraid to tell it. But when you can just see that the story, you're a part of your story or something is a bridge for someone else to see some possibility or freedom, and that's the only reason you tell it, then I think that's beautiful. But I think that when we get caught up in our story too much, it becomes our identity. And that's what had happened to me. It became my identity. And my partner challenged that. He said, like, is like you're so much more than that. Why do you keep making this your identity when there's so much more to you than that? And he pointed out, he said, it feels victimy. And I was like, shut up.
Well, it's definitely limiting. That like, I can see that, feel that, like, right now, that's yes, it is limiting because there is so much more to you and to me than our stories.
Totally. And, what I see is, in myself and in people that I work with, and I'm sure you've seen this too, is it the story over time, it becomes something more than a memory. It becomes an identity and it moves from here's something that happened to me to here's who I am. And I think that's what happened. And when I saw that, it felt distasteful to share my story. Now, not all the time. Again, if I'm in a coaching situation where I can help someone relax and feel like they're not the only one, or that
Yes.
they can see a solution through the eyes of someone else having walked that path. That's just a tool. That's valuable. But when I need someone to know my story, that's me managing perceptions. That's me trying to create an identity, and I'm not free. I'm just dragging the past into the present and making it my future.
Making it your future, that's exactly it.
So I think that when we tell the stories, we're protecting something. And for me, I was protecting this blind spot about like I maybe not feeling worthy, not feeling like I should be a public persona sharing things. It's like, who am I? And maybe that's tied into, I grew up, I'm 10 years older than you, and I grew up in a time when it was still like a fairly misogynistic culture and like women who am I to be doing that as a woman? I would never consciously think that. I've never consciously let being a
Mhm.
woman hold me back from anything, and I would tell you it's bullshit if someone said that. But subconsciously, all the messaging I was programmed with probably told me that a little bit, and I felt like I owed some proof as to why people should listen to what I have to say.
I love that. Right now for me, what's occurring for me is I cannot bring the human being that I was into the next phase of my life. And I've also become very aware recently that I have done most things for achievement to have my worth. That's my worth. That's my proof. Mine was different from yours, though. Mine was self conscious, low self esteem. My story is, when I was 1.5 and my mom had another baby, and I was, then I was bullied, and then I became defensive, and like this story. And you know what? I know I've said this to you before. I am so sick of this story. And it was one of the exact opposite of yours, it seems like anyways, but I was very self-conscious. I didn't have a high self-esteem. I was soothing my wounds all over the place with sex, drugs, and not so much
Rock and
rock and
roll.
roll. And I've always wanted to be a successful businesswoman. And even that is like, okay, what is the motivation behind that? And that's the achiever coming
Mhm,
in.
mhm.
And here it is, I'm doing more and more for that external validation because that's how I'm lovable.
Right.
And I cannot bring that into my next level.
Yeah.
I know that.
But letting go of the old identity feels terrifying to who we are because the mind likes certainty.
Mhm.
But in order for us to claim the next part of who we are, the old part has to die. So
It
we get
does.
stuck in this liminal space where it's terrifying to be someone new. But, here's what I've been discovering in the moments when I actually put the story down is that I'm still here. And actually, there's space for me to really be curious about other people, to ask great questions, to listen, to just be present without feeling like I have to manage the situation. I don't need to make people like me. I don't worry if they don't. There's just this space to just be. And from that place, something different is possible. And, choices can come from desire rather than proving something. And relationships don't have to carry the weight of past relationships. A new day doesn't have to be filtered through every day that came before it.
Mhm.
When Muji talks about this, he calls it the blank slate, but I just call it being a conscious creator rather than a managed survivor.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and
Yep.
there's nothing wrong. We
Managed
don't wanna
survivor.
shame the managed survivor. Those stories served us while we were finding ourselves, creating ourselves, all of that healing. Those stories are helpful. There is nothing wrong. The managed survivor is incredibly capable. She got you here. But she's also slightly braced all the time,
Mhm.
always slightly proving, always underneath the competence, running a quiet background program that says, but don't forget what it cost me to get here. Look at all the work I've done.
Look at me, look at what I've accomplished.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
conscious creator doesn't need to forget the past, but she doesn't need to keep narrating it either. So I think the difference energetically is enormous there. And some of the things that I just think about are like, what's the story that you tell most often? And I don't even wanna say that. I'm, like, embarrassed to say any of them now because 'cause I've talked about them so much on the podcast that other
Right.
people can rattle off our stories, right?
Everybody knows already.
Yeah, everybody knows already. So, like, what are the stories I tell most often? about my past, about my struggles, about overcoming, and how does it make me feel? And this is what I want to ask you, Erin. When you tell that story about when I was one and then and all the things, how do you actually feel inside?
I have a heaviness in my chest, and my throat starts to feel like a knot, and it doesn't make me feel good. And I'll tell you that right now, as I think about, like, as you said, when I set my story down, that played in my head just, like, immediately, and I felt myself setting the story down. It was so spacious. I could feel it somatically, like, now. It was just but, yeah, when I tell that story, it does not feel good, and it just sends me into another, loop and posture bullshit.
Yeah. Well, what do you think that story was protecting?
The story was protecting the lie that I'm not lovable.
Mm. Mhm.
The lie
So
that I believed
mhm.
that I'm not lovable.
Yeah. And if you're operating as a creator, if you get out of that space, then let's use this as an example because one of the stories that we don't really drag in, we kind of just bring up casually. Sometimes people are like, "What's yours and Aaron's connection?" And then I say, "Oh, we met at a yoga thing and then we became friends. And then Aaron owned a franchise of Shift Power Yoga. And we had this." And people are actually surprised because we don't lead with
Yeah,
that story. Which,
we
why
don't
don't
tell that.
we? It's a great
I
story.
don't know.
You know why? Because there's no victimhood in it. There's nothing that we really overcame, but it's a beautiful fucking story.
It really is. It's the beginning of our friendship.
Yeah, but we lead with all the trauma and the
Yeah.
shit we've overcome and the business breakdown that happened in there with other people and
Oh, we did. We
but
do,
just that I
yes.
mean, for those of you who don't know, we went to a training in Miami and I was
Miami.
assisting the training, Aaron was taking the training, and we connected, and then we had a night out at this amazing Miami
There was a beach.
on the
We got a
beach
beach
with all
chair.
these it was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And when we came home, we stayed connected and I just felt this deep heart connection with Erin and I called her and I said, "I want to do teacher trainings in Alberta." And she was like, "Okay." And I said, "I want you to help me." And she was like, "Me? What? Oh my God.
Yeah, of
Okay."
course.
And ever since then, we've been in one form or another creating together. And
Mhm.
even when there's been a little gaps, we come back together and we create something new.
Mhm.
I think we should start leading with that story.
We really, really should. We really should. I remember being so you were so warm to
Mm.
me. Was not used to other women treating me that way. And I remember being so surprised at how kind you were to me. And I just was like, I just love this woman right now.
You know what's funny about that time in Miami that you say the word warm is so funny to me because Brandon Compagnoni was leading that training
Yes.
and he's amazing. He's from Boston, has the big Bostonian accent.
Yeah.
And he said to me, "Pam, I really like you. You're so fucking warm." And I remember thinking, that's interesting that that's how I'm perceived because I didn't perceive myself that way.
Well, that's fascinating because that's exactly how you landed on me. And I was just used to pushing people away that they never even came close,
Right.
but you did.
Yeah.
You did.
Amazing. And look at
Mhm.
what opens up when we tell the story like that. Like we see possibility and it's like more who we want to be in the world, both of us, right? Like
Yes.
leaning in and all of that. And
Mhm.
I find that much more, I feel good telling that story
Me too.
in my body. And I don't feel good telling people about a lot of the things in my past. So
I agree.
I think our bodies are a great source of wisdom here. How do you
Mhm.
feel when you're telling the story? Do you feel like you're trying to prove something? Do you feel a bit yucky after? Because I know I always felt a bit yucky after I would say something. Or someone would say, "Pam Rader's amazing. You should hear what she's overcome." And I get in the conversation, I'm like, for fuck's sakes, could I just be a human for a minute? Like, I don't, I, and I don't think my story is special, but I also knew it was something to peddle, I guess.
Well, and again, it's you connect like that was a connection point.
Yeah. connection point, sure. But
right?
now I can truly use it as an untainted connection point.
Exactly.
So I think for our listeners, the real sort of question in all of this is what are the stories that you're dragging forward that you need people to see about you? Is it that, oh, you had a car accident and so you know, you've been off work for a year because of that, and that's why you don't have this. Like it's basically we're offering excuses for how we are or something on one level, and then on another level, trying to prove that we've survived some things so that people will have some respect or value for us. And both of those things, as I just say that out loud right now, sound so desperate
Mm,
and sad and human, and of course, and no wonder, but also what would be available if we just let ourselves be?
mhm.
Was it Aristotle who said real power is to be and let be? Maybe this
Amazing.
is what he's talking about.
Yeah. It's like if you don't have to be so important,
Right?
who can you be?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's so true. Like, it's us trying to be important. I love that
Yes.
you just said that.
Yes.
What are the stories that you tell? I was just on a call with some clients, and one of the women was talking about having a story of a business that failed, and now they're in this other business, but she likes to tell that story because she's overcome the failure of that business and to point out that the business dissolved because the other guy was a jerk. And
Mhm.
like, so to feel important about it. Yeah. But that doesn't feel good.
No, and to look important.
Yeah.
How we feel, and I can't speak about men, I have no idea if it's the same or not, but how we feel as women in our bodies is so important for us to connect to and start listening to. It's like the way we navigate the world. And so if a story repeatedly makes you feel heavy, it's like it would only make sense to set it down, like Muji said.
Yeah. And it's not like suppressing it or pretending it didn't happen or like you got clunked on the head and got amnesia. It's not like that.
No.
We're just saying you don't need to walk in the door, put your suitcase down, open it up, and start unpacking it in the foyer everywhere you
Mm,
go. You can set the
yeah.
suitcase down, walk into the room without it. And if you need something from it, it's there. But why unpack it? It's kind of weird. You wouldn't do that at someone's house.
No. Just throw your dirty clothes everywhere.
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh. And the other thing is that, you know, the thing that opens up for us, and this is the real sort of tool that I want to share a little bit around, is this: when we set down that old story, we're free to create ourselves. And we can say, like, I want to give an example of an introduction. If you said, "Hey, I'm Erin, and I'm a coach," and I say, "Oh, what kind of coach are you?" And you say, "Well, you know what? I've overcome this, and I've overcome that, and I've overcome this, and I've worked through all my own trauma and that, and so now I'm an embodiment coach." Okay, whoa, like she's got some experience, but now I also feel heavy.
Mhm.
But if I introduce myself and say, "Oh, Erin, what do you do?" And you say, "I'm someone who is intensely curious about human behavior. I'm someone who is excited about learning and growing and empowering other humans, including myself. I'm someone who loves to transmute shame because it feels good to do that." You actually just create it and claim it in the moment with no prerequisite.
Yeah, that sounds good. I might use all that.
Yeah, right? Like just to actually, when someone asks you who you are, to claim it in the moment.
Mhm.
I was at a networking event recently, and this is why this is all present for me. I was sitting at the event and it was about AI, and I was just listening and had an amazing conversation with a few people at this table with me. And I was really curious about their perspectives because they were working in software engineering, and this is going to be a big thing for them in their lives, right? And and then, it was a general thing how AI is going to impact all of us. So I was asking questions and they were asking me questions, and eventually I asked them, "Well, what do you do and how is this going to impact your job?" So they told me, and then they said, "What do you do?" And I took a breath and I consciously said, little of this, little of that. I literally did not want to say my story, but I didn't really know who I wanted to be. And they were like, and then one guy says, just ruined the whole thing. He goes, "You spoke at this event a couple months ago. You're a coach and you're a man and you did
Just
this and she wrote a
ruined
book and
it.
blah, blah, blah." And so the other girl says, "I want to have you come speak at my company." And then I was like, well, this is money. I should probably like act like I am a coach.
Right, yeah, yeah, I should probably back that up.
But anyways, I just had this moment where I was like, I want to set that down. And it felt really good. I wasn't being self deprecating. I wasn't deflecting. I just was like, I don't need to be anybody here. And it felt so free.
Mhm. And I think that's what Muji talks about. It's like dropping everything that we identify with
Mm.
and what is left.
Yeah.
And you were just in the essence of that in that moment.
Yeah.
I love that.
And let's think about it. Let's flip it one more time because we see other people based on the stories they're carrying around, and we have preconceived notions about who they are, how they'll behave, what they'll say based on their old stories.
Yep.
Whether they're telling them currently or not, if we know them, we're dragging it in, or we have created a story about them. So, in the moment that I'm communicating with that person, I am not communicating with them as they are now. I'm communicating with all of my preconceived notions about them and the story that I have about them. And therefore, that person is not free. And I'm the one holding the shackles. But what if we stepped into each moment as new? Like each moment is new and let somebody show you who they are in that moment. I wonder what would be possible in our relationships and in our conversations.
Our stories really are shackles.
Mhm.
They really do hold us down in those moments. I'm seeing that right now. Because even as I'm talking to someone, the person next to me or the person that I'm talking to has all of those shackles too. And it's like, imagine if you can be so clear that they aren't their story. There's so much possibility in that they can see themselves in that
Yeah.
potentially, right? They can see,
Yeah.
oh, this person doesn't expect me to be a bullied, drunk in my 20s.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And then, you're giving them permission essentially is what I'm saying. It's a real like, it's sacred. It's sacred work.
I think that it's like anything, the Buddha said, "Be a light," and meaning like
Mm,
be like a lighthouse. Like you don't try to change other people or whatever, but go be a light. Go live in your fullness, your wholeness, your expression of who you are, unshackled by your past, unshackled by expectations. And in doing so, I think there's something really magnetic about that.
mhm, yes.
So if someone let's just break this down. If someone is really caught up in their story, and you'll know they are because they got a lot of yeah buts. Yeah, but
Mm,
yeah, but what about this? And yeah, but I can't seem to get past it because my mom was. Yeah, but I can't because my boss is such a jerk. Or they're like just bringing that story in. I think the question is not why aren't they letting go of that story, but what is that story protecting? And if we can be curious about that, like, where is their leak in self-worth?
mhm.
Where is their what are they afraid of? Then that can help us move a little bit more towards people instead of being repelled by them.
Well, I'm thinking, like, the highest form of love is to be seen and heard and to see and hear. And when we can give that to someone, it's helps them start to dissolve that protection,
Mhm,
and it's just like, I think you saw that in me.
mhm,
You saw who I was under the story.
mhm,
And there really was nobody else. I remember I said to you one time, like, you believed and still believe in me.
mhm,
And that pulled me along.
mhm.
Like it did. It's not like I was consciously like, Pam believes in me, so I have to go do something. I started to believe in myself because you just believed in me.
Well, I think
And you
there's
did that.
something here. Tony Robbins calls it borrowing belief. He says, if you don't believe in yourself, borrow someone's belief in you. because there's somebody out there that believes in you. So borrow it till
Yeah.
you don't need to.
Yeah, and I think that that's what's possible with this.
So here we're hitting on something. So I said, what about these people who have all the yeah buts and everything? Maybe what you could do, what we could do, is loan them our belief in them.
Mm. Mm.
Isn't that
Take some of
beautiful?
mine.
Take some of mine. Maybe you don't believe in your ability to leave that story behind and create your life beautifully, but I believe in you. And you can
Mhm.
borrow my belief for as long as you need it.
Mhm.
And I
I
wonder
got
what would
lots to go
open up.
around.
Yeah, exactly. I got loads to go around, an infinite well of belief.
Yes.
That feels beautiful to me. Well,
It's
I
amazing.
I think this is such a deep topic, but it's kind of simple. And I hope that what we can leave our listeners with is just this idea that you are not your past. Your past has helped create you. We can honor it, as in that poem that was says that those experiences are the bones of the temple that I sit in now.
Yes.
Is certainly they are. And
Mhm.
though, like, honor that, but you don't need to bring bones with suitcase full of bones everywhere you go.
No, no, they become the foundation.
Yeah, they are a foundation, but they are not the next, you're not reaching back to them. You're
Yeah,
standing atop
yes.
them to reach forward, to reach upward. And you don't need your story. You always were enough. You always are
Mhm.
enough. And when you start to settle into that, you really don't need your story. You can put it down completely.
Yeah, you don't need those bones anymore. Maybe foundation isn't quite right. It's like leaving the bones behind is what is our rite of passage, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, for a time, I think those bones become a ladder that we have to climb up. We configure them in a ladder to help us climb out of the
That
muck.
makes sense.
And then once we're up, we don't want to keep dragging the ladder with us.
No, no, because I can't take that girl who needed the ladder into the next iteration of who I am.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Erin. If I was going to ask you for some I am statements from right now, like that you're completely creating in this moment, who's Erin Payne?
I am a woman who attracts people to her that feel like they can do it too. And I am a woman who gives people inspiration to not not necessarily change their lives, but the opportunity to start rearranging how they think and how they feel so that they can have freedom as well. And I am a woman who attracts abundance in all ways.
Beautiful. And how does
How
that
about
feel
you?
oh gosh. Well, how does that feel when you say those things?
Oh, I mean, it feels spacious
Mm.
and good. Yes. And it's not just like affirmations where we repeat what we don't actually believe. It's I feel like the space that's created from setting some of these stories down that we used to identify with, what we can put in that space is like the truth.
Yeah. Well, the image that I just got was of a book that has all this writing in it, and then we open it up and the next page is blank.
Yeah, how
And
amazing
I
is that?
can
I just
write
got
whatever I want on it. And so when you ask me, well, what about me? I'm like, I'm just someone who's exploring what do I really want to write on that next page? And I'm in
Mhm.
the I don't know. And I'm in the isn't it fun to explore? And I'm someone I feel like I'm a 54-year-old who's been taking care of other humans for my whole life. And now I'm like a teenage girl trying to figure out what's in the world.
Like, what's actually out there?
Yeah, in a way, and just like,
Yeah,
what do I want? What do I
I
like?
can't wait.
What's aligned for me? And to live my own life. And so when you ask what is that for me? I'm someone who's discovering myself right now.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I have lots of other things that I could say, but right now, really, that just feels so free to create that in this moment. I'm someone who's discovering myself.
Mhm.
So if you are excited about this episode, if this struck a chord for you, please share the show. It helps.
Share it, yes.
I know it's like a pain in the ass for you guys who are listening, but rate the show, go in and give us a rating. share the show because that actually helps the show grow and that helps us keep doing what we're doing, which is we're just trying to help people get free while we're doing it along the way.
Exactly.
And if you want to work one on one with either Erin or myself, or come and see us at a program or a retreat, check out the links in the show notes below. And until next time, we invite you to set down your suitcase and walk
Mhm.
into a room knowing that you are fully enough and you do not need a buffer from the stories of your past, that you are enough, you are lovable, and we're here cheering you on. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.